my name is Stavros Anthony. I'm the Las Vegas City Councilman and Mayor Pro-tem for the City of Las Vegas. This is my first time doing this, so bear with me. We are first going to start with the invocation, which is going to be read by Andre Haynes. If you could all stand, please.
Good morning, everyone. Please bow with me. Dear God, thank you for life and strength today. Thank you for the opportunity and privilege to be here. Thank you for democracy. Thank you for veterans in politics, creating an event where the general public and candidates can come together and express their views and ideas. I ask your wisdom, your guidance, to help us make sound decisions and to present forth the best information. Thank you again for the opportunity. Amen.
And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag right over here. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and please take your seats. Again, for me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel members in the order that they are in this piece of paper. Karen Steelman, Auxiliary Director. Karen, where's Karen? Oh, Karen is way over there, okay. Pamela Caton, Marketing Executive. Pamela. Lisa Mayo DeRiso, First Tuesday Political Consultant. There's Lisa. Travis Barrett, Nevada Attorney. Travis, there you go. Melody Howard, U.S. Army. Melody. George Carson, owner of Alt Talk Radio. George. Nathan Atkins, U.S. Army. Nathan. Jameson Ahern, U.S. Marine. There he is, over there. Is Rob Lauer here? Oh, there he is. Okay, Rob Lauer, U.S. Army. Matt Fox, U.S. Army.
William
Okay, they wrote down Matt Fox, so it's William Fox. Okay, I'll fix that. And Zach Apperson, U.S. Navy. There he is, okay. All right, that's our panel members. Let me read you our candidates. Let me read you the rules here real quick. A strict schedule will be adhered to without exception. This is an interview, not a debate. No redirect questions. Candidates are allowed 1.5-minute introduction. Panelists are given 30 seconds to pose a question. Candidates have 1 minute to respond. If time allows, an audience member may pose a question. Panel members will not air personal grievances about candidates. Complex questions that require too lengthy an answer will be disqualified. Panelists will pose their questions to one candidate. If a panelist asks all candidates to answer a question, it has to be a yes or no. Okay, any questions on any of those? Any questions? Okay, and I have a stop thing. I guess we're on a pretty tight schedule here, so I'm just gonna, once the time's up, I'm gonna just say time's up and then we'll go from there. So, all right, let's go ahead and get the first one started. So, we'll start with Lou. You're each going to be given 1.5 minutes as an introduction. So Lou, you go right ahead, 1.5 minutes.
Good morning, my name is Lou Toomin. I'm a resident of the state of Nevada for 2 years now, lived in Commission District E 30 years now. I'm a former member of the state legislature, 1993, highest rated professional legislator that term. I am now the Public Information Officer and the Chief Operating Officer for the Constable's Office. I believe that change is necessary. I've seen in my 30 years here the County Commission District E keep lowering itself in all areas, and I think that I know how to fix it, and I will be able to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Okay, Joe. Hold on 1 second, Joe. Let me get sure how to work this. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Joe Thibodeau. I'm retired from the Clark County Building Department. I was there for 23 years as a commercial building inspector on the Las Vegas Strip. I'm also a veteran. I'm a member of the Boy Scouts of America. I'm a real bearded Santa, as you can see by the beard. I'm a carpenter. I've had lots of experience in the valley. I've lived here for 46 years. I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of growth come along. My 23 years with the county, with the building department, I've worked with budgets and other assignments that have come along. I think I could be a very good candidate, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Randy.
Yeah, my name's Randy Rose. I'm a realtor. I'm a small businessman, and I also am capitalizing on things that the Democrats are doing right now, as far as their EPA and all that. Go green, go green. I decided I was going to go ahead and get people off the grid and sell them solar panels for their homes. So I'm doing that too. I've got three different things going on. I've always had multiple things going on, because you never know when one's going to go down and the other one's going to stay up. Now, the reason I decided to run for Clark County Commissioner is because, number one, I was kind of outraged that they raised their salaries by 10% and basically told the employees of the commission, no suit for you. And then they turned around and 4 out of the 7 commissioners that are Democrats have voted to increase our sales tax, which I think would be a burden on veterans and the people of Clark County. I will never, ever vote to increase sales tax. I do appreciate and support the police, the veterans, the teachers, the children, but don't throw that in my face if you want to raise the sales tax, because it's not going to happen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Chris.
Thank you. Good morning. I don't know if this is on. Bear with me. My throat is a little bit off because of the allergies, so I do apologize if I'm not clear. I am running for re-election for County Commission E. It would be my 3rd term, mainly because I believe this is an unbelievable, wonderful community. We have so many opportunities available to us to do the right thing. After the growth slowed down, it was a good time to start looking at policy to make sure that we were building appropriately, that we were making sure that neighborhoods were protected, we were making sure that we had the infrastructure that was in place. And I believe in being a politician that's accessible. I was the first one that ever put my cell phone out on any of my brochures. Everybody, a lot of people do now, but I want my constituents to be able to get a hold of me. I'm extremely accessible. I go out and weed whack yards if that's what needs to be done for a senior citizen or a disabled individual. I'm hands-on, and I've always been that way, and I will continue to be that way if I'm fortunate enough to be elected again. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Good job. You're all under 1.5 minutes. Great. Okay, let's start with Jameson. Again, it's less than a 30-second question with a 1-minute response, unless you want, and directed to one candidate. Unless you want to ask all the candidates, then they will all be a yes or no. So start with you, Jameson, and we'll just go all the way around the room.
Okay, this question is directed towards Chris. Good morning to all of you. What's the one most important decision that you've influenced while sitting on the commission for your 2 terms?
Party foul. Somebody's phone's going on.
Sorry, I thought you thought about my question. That happens when you get old, you lose your memory.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Thank you. The one thing that I would have to say that I was able to accomplish on the commission was bringing people together in order to make sure that we were trying to put an inquest process in place that was the best for the community. I may not have been successful. It was overturned by some of my former colleagues, or my current colleagues, but I still believe that open process that brought people to the table, involved everybody, made a recommendation, and I advanced that recommendation, and we did pass that. Unfortunately, we never got to implement it, but I still believe that that was the right process. When you open up to the community and have them sit at the table with you as a politician, that's the best way to make decisions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Robert.
Just have one quick question for everyone. Do you support the more tax law? Yeah.
Okay, Lou, let's start with you, yes or no?
No tax.
Why don't you speak into the microphone, Lou, so everybody can hear you.
I don't believe in raising taxes.
Okay.
Can you clarify for what?
It's the new tax rate being raised to pay for more costs.
Yes, I support that.
I do not support raising sales tax on the backs of our people of Clark County.
No.
Okay, Lisa.
Okay, this is a question for Commissioner Giunchigliani. District F is probably the most diverse district of all the commission districts. It spans from Decatur West to East Lake Mead and has a very diverse population and even borders the growing downtown area. What is the biggest issue today facing District E, in your opinion, and how do you plan on addressing that or solving it?
Thank you. E is a dynamic. I've lived there since I moved to town, actually, on the east side of town, and I've spent my time really reaching out to neighborhoods. I would say the one challenge that we have right now, which is the opportunity, is taking a look at our inner core. We have a midtown from UNLV all the way from the airport down to downtown, and trying to focus how we can be successful to promote small businesses, collaborative model, bringing back some revitalization. I formed a business coalition 2 years ago from all up and down Maryland Parkway, went door to door to each of their businesses and invited them to my home to sit down and meet with the other businesses in that community. We are working with UNLV, RTC, the Education Foundation, Boulevard Mall is under new ownership. And what we're trying to do is really take a look at if we can be the point person where public-private sector works together and listens to private sector on what are the needs for retail along that corridor, what do we need for beautification, how can we move people more easily. I've been the first one to say I'll take light rail if we can find the financing for it, because it will be a game changer for that corridor, especially if the Flamingo Swenson site is selected for UNLV for the stadium. I'm pushing for a school of medicine to be in conjunction with that because they can be a nexus. You can do a sports medicine component.
Thank
It's
you,
off the
Chris.
dime on that part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, William.
Good morning. My question's for Lou. In your opening statements, you said that you wanted a change and that the current commissioners were lowering themselves. So without airing any personal grievances, what do you mean by that, and what can you change?
Well, first of all,
Microphone,
First of all, in living where I live for 30 years now, the crime rate has risen to the highest than any other commission district in Clark County. It's high in every category of crime with the exception of homicide. I think, frankly, after the people voted to raise the taxes to put more cops on the street, I think that's really what needs to be done. And it's the only way that we're going to cut crime in the district.
Thank you. Zachary.
This question would be based towards Mr. Rose, specifically because you mentioned something about solar energy. There's a local company in the area that said that there's a restriction towards not being able to market towards residents. What would you do to solve that issue?
There's already, the state of Nevada has already put out an NRS that says that you cannot tell somebody they cannot put solar on their home. That is illegal.
Okay.
Especially HOAs, I mean, HOA laws actually say it in there that that you can't have it, and that is illegal too.
Thank you. Okay. All right, Melody.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Melody.
You turned it off. Oh, good morning.
Sorry.
I've moved from County Commission District F to County Commission E just recently, and I have noticed one thing in the way police handle different neighborhoods. And as a county commissioner, I would like to know what you can do about the way these things are handled differently. And I'll be specific.
Who are you directing your question
to Chris. On the west side of town, police actually pull you over. In District E, they actually stop them in the middle of the street, which causes huge traffic jams, and Charleston is just a nightmare because of it.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you. Welcome to District E. It's the best place in the area. As you know, as a county commissioner, we don't get to set the policy for Metro, but I do meet regularly with the area commands as well as their officers on the COPS officers who really get a lot of the work done on the ground. We just had a meeting 2 weeks ago with 6 of the COP officers about exactly that, on how do they meld between traffic issues and ticketing, and then making sure they're responding appropriately to house calls. As you know, the sheriff came up with a new policy after some of us did not support the more cops tax, and is stopping, not going to allow them to respond to accidents. We're going to make a request of the sheriff to come to the county commission and to please talk to us about that so that the public knows what the rationale was for that, because that's a definite impact on your insurance and your insurance rates. E, because of some of the needier neighborhoods, and there are some, needs more positive visibility. I believe that officers should be respected, visible, on bikes. I would love to bring back beat cops. We can continue to suggest that. I've actually talked to the downtown area command to see if maybe we could target and a specific officer is assigned to a neighborhood so everybody gets to know him or her. That will then start to break down those barriers.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Karen.
I'll pass, thank you.
Oh. How come you're not sitting up here with everybody else?
Because I'm busy doing other
Okay.
things. Controlling this.
All right.
Can I ask a question for her?
All right, go ahead.
Passed. I'm passing.
She's passing.
Oh, you're passing. Oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Oh. That wasn't on the rule sheet. I was told you passed.
I think she's got supreme power. She's
It's like a monopoly game, okay.
But I reserve the right to recall.
All right, go ahead.
My question is directed towards all of you, but more specifically, the first question is for Chris. I'm so impressed with all the boards that you
Speak
sat
into the
on.
microphone.
Okay. Your history of sitting on a lot of educational boards, what kind of tangible effects have come about from sitting on those boards? What is your greatest accomplishment with that last year, and then what do you plan to do next year in the way of education? And for all of you, what is your strategy to improve our educational system here?
So who was that question?
For Chris, and then everybody else.
No, it has to be a yes or no for everybody else.
Oh,
So-
oh, okay.
So we'll just,
Okay,
since
for
you're
Chris
directing
then.
that to Chris, we'll have it give her 1 minute.
Okay, very good.
All right, you're right. I try not to go on boards if I can't be effective or do anything. I don't want to build a resume that way. I would say my most delightful one is my after-school all-stars board. They just put me on the board of directors a year ago. I'm on the education, I'm chair actually of the education committee, but I worked my way up, which means you got to raise money. But that said, what we've done is at OR, which is in my district, it's the only way we would have an after-school music program was through After-School All-Stars. This afternoon after I leave here, Piero's is donating 200 bikes to the kids in the neighborhood and doing a barbecue for them. So we try to do things that are hands-on that improve their lives. But I also work with the school principals and the PTA, and what we're trying to do through Spread the Word is bring books into schools. So we did John S. Park and Peterson Elementary School just recently. We're recipients of that. We just added Peterson. And in addition to that, I'm building a stewardship program with the high school students. Some kids from Vegas High came to a zoning meeting, all 30 from the student council. So I went out on site, met them on the developer, that made the developer have to sit down and argue with them on why they didn't want a road and they didn't want this. And the students came up with an idea of adding a student to our town boards without voting power. So I'm going to put that into effect as well.
Thank you, Chris. Nathan.
Yes, my question is for panel member Rose. You stated that you are against raising taxes.
That's correct.
I'm not a fan of taxes, but with the rising cost of government and the lower revenues coming through the door, what is your plan to continue to run an operational efficiency without increased revenue?
See, one thing about government that's different from your household or even your business. When it comes to government, when you actually decrease taxes and decrease spending, that increases revenue in the tax revenue. That's very difficult for people to understand because in your life, if you're going to have less income coming into your home and you have higher expenditures, then there's going to be a budget fall there. But when you cut taxes and you cut spending in government, the economy goes up and tax receipts come in. That's been proven time and time again But for some reason, the Democrats think in terms of a household that you have to charge more to get more. But the truth of the matter is, if you look back in 1923, when Calvin Coolidge, he cut the taxes 50%, he cut the spending by 50%, the economy went through the roof, they called it the Roaring '20s.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Question for all the panel members. Who do you support for sheriff?
Lou, go start.
You're a politician. I want a straight answer.
I'm supporting,
We only have so much time.
They said one word answer.
Just a name.
oh, I'm sorry, Moody.
Burns.
Lombardi, the assistant,
Who?
the assistant sheriff right now.
What's his name?
Lombardi.
Lombardo.
Ted Moody.
Lombardo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. George?
Yeah, my question is for Randy Rose. Now, you say that the HOAs are not allowing these solar panels to be put up. How would you go about changing that?
No, actually what it is it's written into their bylaws. And NRS 278.55, I think it is, negates that. It's kind of like, it's like putting in your bylaws, no black people allowed in our HOA. That would be illegal. Putting no solar panels in our HOA, that would be illegal.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, we got plenty of time, so anybody in the audience would like to ask a question of a candidate? All right, well, there's no sense sending you guys home yet, since you're here till 12:15. So I'm gonna go back around. So I'll go around again. If you have a question, go ahead and we'll just do it all over again. George, let's start with you. You're good? Okay, Travis?
Commissioner Giunchigliani, we don't know each other, nothing personal, but you've been briefed on the interdiction program happening in Apex, correct?
No, I'm not.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Nathan?
This question is for Chris. Chris, Denver obviously, or Colorado obviously, has seen a big boom for marijuana being used recreational. I know here in the Valley, medical marijuana is being evaluated heavily. What's your stance on whether we should have medical marijuana or not?
I completely support it. I sponsored the legislation in 2001 when I served in the legislature after the voters passed the initiative petition with over 70%. It's taken 13 years to get a dispensary model put in place, and we're finally moving forward. I actually had a dispensary model in my bill in 2001, but the DEA at the federal level refused to accept it, so we had to do the Oregon illegal grow your own program. What we have to be careful of, though, is right now the focus should be on medicine, not people anticipating the recreational side. I don't want to see government be used to create a monopoly for a handful of businesses who will make more money rather than keeping sight of the issue for medical marijuana. And especially since the health board just added PTSD, which is very much an issue that will affect many of our vets coming home, that will be a component that we should be looking at, being able to make sure that they can get the access safely and sanely for their meds.
Thank you. Okay, can I answer that question? Just kidding.
Tell us your answer.
Pamela?
This goes to the rest of the panel. Do each of you support medical marijuana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Chris is yes.
My, how times
Joe?
have changed.
Everybody
What was
was,
your answer, Joe?
My answer was yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
everybody was a yes. Okay. Melody?
My question is for all of the panel members. Do you support homeschooling, and will you support initiatives that support homeschooling?
Chris?
Homeschooling is completely controlled by the legislature. When I served there, I did help the homeschool parents be able to write appropriate regs to allow for them to keep their kids at home. But I'm a public school teacher as well, and I'm very much a proponent of public education. But parents should have choices, and whether it's parochial, private, or public schools, as well as homeschooling. And as a commissioner, you don't have any say-so over that part of it. But if a parent calls me with an issue, I reach out to the State Board of Ed or my school board trustee or whoever they might be having difficulty with.
Thank you. Randy, kind of a yes or
Well,
no?
I'm just going to follow the format and say yes.
Okay.
It's kind of like the educator hasn't been educated to be giving instruction to the children. Would you perform lobotomy on yourself or somebody in your family? I don't support homeschooling. I've seen quite a few families where the children can't interact with other kids socially. You need that education and interaction with the children.
Okay, that's a no. Lou, pick up your microphone for the 5th time. You like that, I like it. Okay.
Yes, I do support homeschooling.
Okay, very good. Zachary?
I have no further,
William?
no further questions.
This question is for Chris. Earlier you talked about the small businesses in your district. We often see small businesses be shut out by the big box stores, big corporations, investments. A certain portion of those small businesses are veterans that come back and face unemployment issues larger than the average citizen, and they want to start their own small business. So what would your plan be to help them succeed against those larger big box corporations?
Excellent point. Big boxes, I've never been in a Walmart, for example, because it put a lot of small business retail out of business. That said, what we've done in the county in my 8 years, Commissioner Weekly and I have pushed to expand our Small Business Institute, where we actually go out and reach out to businesses. And we generally have 200 to 300 small businesses that participate, women, minorities, and veterans, in order to learn how to navigate government. How do you competitively bid for something? How do we make sure that we don't have a barrier to opening up your new small business with the permit process? And it has been extremely successful in growing those. The other thing I'm working on, those with the Brookings Institute, is to see if we can identify in various corridors where we're missing certain businesses and an outreach to those minorities, veterans, and women programs that are interested in starting a small business and say, we need 3 dry cleaners over here, we need 2 art shop, a bookstore, whatever it might be that you know is going to be tested. Because as you know, within 3 years, most small businesses can go under, they're undercapitalized. So you want to set it up with the right procedure and putting in the right marketing in the long run. So that's what we're trying to do as a public outreach part of it. We also
Thank you.
have
Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Okay, Lisa.
This is a question for all of you. The community and the Clark County Commission had numerous meetings on the More Cops tax. And recently, Commissioner Steve Sisolak announced that the county found $5 million to give to Metro. If you were elected or sitting on the county commission today, would you support that or not support that $5 million allocation?
Okay, Lou, we'll start with you. That's kind of a yes or no. Do you want to spend an extra $5 million on police if you're on the county commission?
Just
Microphone. Lou, microphone.
Yeah, just, that's.
Caveat, or be just yes or no?
Well, they say just yes or no. I don't know if he'll give you any leeway
You
to
know,
explain.
we have a little bit of time, so if you want to spend, I'll give you 30 seconds each to answer that question.
I don't believe in Mr. Sisolak's new proposal at all. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Again, the people of the state voted to increase the tax to put more cops on the street, and I think we should go ahead with the wishes of the people. The caveat needs to be attached to that to make sure they only spend that money to hire cops. And if that was done, I think the problem would be solved. Thank you.
Great, okay. Joe?
Yeah, I think they need to give the cops more money. You have certain services that you absolutely need, and that's part of it. There's the calls for service in our area and other areas are pretty high. There's areas of District E that are pretty run down. There's a lot of absentee landlords and things like that. The only way to take care of that is to have the police seen on the street. That's the only way to do it.
Okay, Randy.
I don't believe in the robbing Peter to pay Paul scenario. The money is there. You allocate the money. That's your job as a commissioner. So if you want to allocate it over to the police department that needs the money, then yes, I think you should. But I think the litmus test, and this is going to be my litmus test if I'm elected, the question I'm going to ask on every single expenditure is going to be, how does this benefit the people of Clark County? And if it's to pay off some crony that the Democrats owe money to or owe some favor to, I'm going to vote no.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. The recommendation that was made out of the blue was to add to the funding formula paid more by the city and the county. I believe part of it was more of a political stunt than being meaningful. And it was to try to do a dig to the city of Las Vegas and the mayor for attacking some of the commissioners for not voting for the more cops tax. That's not how you do business, and you don't work, you lose that ability to work in partnership with your colleagues across the city line when you're doing that kind of work. Does Metro need more money? Yes, but I've long said the sales tax is regressive. It affects your middle class folks more than anybody else and anybody on a fixed income. There has to be a better way to fund it and make sure that you actually got more cops. When we funded the formula last year, the sheriff chose purposefully for the last 3 years not to have academies. Therefore, he didn't even replace those that had retired, which then built up the number of more cops that they were shortfall, rather than really giving people more cops.
Very, thank you. Robert, you have a question?
Right now, if you're a small business or you're trying to start a new business, you have to get a license at the county level. You have to get a license in Henderson, license in North Las Vegas, license in Las Vegas, license in the state level. How do you start a business? You got to put out of pocket several $1,000s in licenses just to start. Would you waive those licenses for the first year, perhaps, for new business startups? Yes or no?
Oh, that's a yes. Okay, yes or no to everyone?
Yes.
Randy, yes, okay. Joe?
No, you're only doing the license in the area you're working in.
Okay, Chris?
No, because we can't.
Okay.
The state level, the state put in a new business license that never existed before for every single business in the state of Nevada now has to. And I did not agree with that mechanism because it was really to build a computer program. We did pass, though, and I worked on it through the regional planning, to create a multi-jurisdictional license. So if you did business in Henderson, and in the county, you can go to whichever's convenient, pay it there, and then we distribute it rather than you having to jump around to all different places.
My point, I guess my point was that
Let me have Lou answer the question. Lou?
No.
No. Okay, looks like everybody's answered the question. So, Jameson, you're going to be the last one.
Okay, this
is a question for Mr. Rose. Since you're talking about solar, we have 320 days of sunshine here. We should actually be at the forefront of solar technology for the country. We're not. But now that Nevada Power has Warren Buffett and Berkshire halfway behind it, what type of initiatives would you implement if you were on the commission to get us at the forefront of technology?
I do not believe in government forcing anybody to do anything, so I'm not going to support some kind of initiative that's going to force people into solar. They make the decision on their own. What's been my experience has been that the Republicans are buying solar. The Democrats who voted for the people to push the solar are not buying solar. It just seems to me that if you're going to elect somebody that's pushing your agenda, you should follow the agenda. But just like taxes, they don't want to pay their taxes. They want to increase taxes. They don't want to pay it. I just don't think the government should be telling people what to do as far as their personal decisions like that.
Okay, Clark County Commission candidates for District E, thank you very much for coming down and spending the day with us. Round of applause. All right, very good.